Okay, what is going on? This is the one and only Slack. Subscribe if you're new, or if you're not new, welcome back. I just got home from seeing the new Halloween movie about maybe an hour ago, and I have to talk about it. This movie was so great. I loved this movie. Everything worked so well in this movie. I'll get into it in a minute. But just if you like the original Halloween, you're probably gonna like this movie. I would assume if you like Halloween H2O or Halloween 2, you'll definitely like this movie. But if you were a big fan of the original, you might be like 50-50 on this new movie. But yeah, basically the story is it's been 40 years since Michael Myers faced off with Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, sorry, and now he's back. And yeah, that's literally the whole premise of the story. His prison bus crashes when he's moved to a new facility, and he's coming back to Haddonfield for one more Halloween. First and foremost, Jamie Lee Curtis, just mwah, beautiful. She killed it. Just so mentally damaged. Like you can see the mental scars from the attack 40 years ago that had been left on Laurie Strode, and it's not like she's like completely out of her mind, but like she's like borderline like insane because of this. Um, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, an absolute force to be reckoned with. She's a badass. This is how you make a strong female character. Wonder Woman, move aside. Laurie Strode's coming for your crown, bitch. But yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis was just so great in this movie. Probably not going to get an Oscar nomination, but I could see it maybe happening. I'd be okay with it. John Carpenter's back as an executive producer, and also he does the score for the movie. And the score is just so iconic. The right, and they use it, but they don't overdo it. You know what I mean? Like there was okay. So a lot of people were like, okay, this movie's just going to rely on pure nostalgia from the original. And yes, there are a lot of callbacks to the original. Like characters that you didn't think would be in this movie are in this movie. There are scenes from this movie that were in the original, but they don't overdo it. Like they use it to be like, hey, here's a little nod to the original. But it relies on its own, like it relies on itself rather than your nostalgia from the original. Like a lot of movies will rely on pure nostalgia for you to enjoy it. Like some people had gripes about like the Amazing Spider-Man, that there was too much reliance on like the original Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, or some of the new Alien movies, or the Predator movie. A lot of movies have an over reliance on your nostalgia from a movie. But this movie stands on its own 2 feet, and it stands up straight. The score is just, again, phenomenal, like I said. There's a couple of scenes where like the score is just so perfectly used, but they changed it a bit. So there's a scene about halfway through the movie where someone's running through the streets and they're using the do, but then they bring in like a huge bass line to go with it, as if it's like the footsteps of Michael Myers behind her, which is just beautifully done. Talking about Michael Myers, he's back, more brutal than ever. He's like 60 years old now, based on just like the timeline of the movies. But he's still just like pure terror, not even like terror, just like pure intensity in his eyes that you don't see. It makes sense in the movie if you see it. What I was really worried about is that they were gonna show his face without the mask on it. They were gonna show the Michael Myers under the mask, and they never did. Like there's like a couple of scenes where it's like you see like his side profile, but it's blurry, or like you see like his eye and it blinks or whatever, but you never see him full on, which is perfect because it keeps up the mystique of who's under the mask. Like in the original, right at the very end, his mask gets lifted off and you see his face clear as day, and I didn't like that in the original. In this one, no games. Like there's like a couple of like little teases. The most you'll ever see is of his face is it's shot from someone's perspective, and it's all blurry because they're crying, and like you can't really make out his face, which is great. It's just great. The violence is actually not as brutal as I expected it to be, because with a lot of horror movies now, there's an over reliance on the blood and the gore and everything. And there's like 2 or 3 kills in this movie where I'm just like, wow, that's a lot. Like a lot of blood or a lot of guts, whatever. Yeah, the kill count in this movie is like triple that of the original, which is to be expected. Someone that I saw the movie with asked me, they were like, why are there like 3 or 4 random killings? And for me, it's just like he's been incarcerated for 40 years. Like he's just getting his fix before like he goes after his real target. Because he never says anything, or you never know. You know what he's thinking. His whole thing is, I'm coming for Laurie Strode and her family, and you know that's what he's thinking. So the person that I was with was like, well, why isn't he just going straight for Laurie? It's like, well, he's got to, get his fill from the others, like, whatever. A couple of scenes from the original are in this movie. I won't get into details about it because it is a bit of a spoiler. But what the original used to do was that they would have Michael Myers in the background, and you couldn't see him, or you could see him, but no one else could, and he'd be blurry or whatever. Right? And they do that in this movie, and it works really well. Like, it doesn't feel forced. Like, they're not like, oh, here's the nostalgia, but it works. Even like the supporting characters, like obviously this is Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Michael Myers' movie. But Judy Greer plays Laurie's daughter. She's good. Bill Paxton plays the main cop. He's also good. Even the girl who played Laurie's granddaughter, like, plays her role. Like, she's just, high school girl, Halloween night with her boyfriend, whatever. She plays her role, and she plays it well enough. Like, she's not a cliche. However, speaking of cliches, there are a couple of cliches in this movie. Again, as to be expected. There's just like stupid decisions made. It's like, oh, we know Michael Myers is on the loose, and I can't see who's sitting in that car, so let me go knock on the window, right? Like, it's just, stupid shit like that. Like horror movie logic. Like, oh, I heard a bang upstairs. Like, let's go check it out, right? But let's not go together. Let's just, you go on your own, right? There are a couple of really tense moments, like white knuckling moments, especially like in the last, like the last showdown between Laurie and Michael is just like so beautifully shot. Like, the lighting is great, the score is great, the intensity is just at like an, I don't know, 11 like the whole time, and you're like, oh, is he there? No. Okay, who is he? Okay, no. And it's just really intense. There's a decision made about a third, in like the last third of the movie, where I was kind of like, it's a weird choice. Not like a choice made by the character, but like a choice made by the studio, where I'm like, okay, like, I get why you guys chose to do that, but at the same time, it doesn't really add to the story because of like how quickly the decision in the movie is negated. I'll get into that in the spoiler review, which will be in the description, and it'll also be in the information box that's going to appear right now. So yeah, there's even like the opening credits as well. Like, this is a weird thing to touch on, but the opening credits are like the original movie with the blurry text and the orange font color. But what they do is that, because in the original there's a pumpkin there that's like rotating the whole time, but in this one the pumpkin is smashed and it's slowly coming back to life. Like, they're revitalizing the pumpkin, or they're revitalizing the Halloween series. This movie only had a budget of like $10 million, which is impressive that they were able to make such a great movie with such a small budget. What, like, $10 million isn't a small budget, but like by Hollywood standards, it is. It's projected to make around anywhere between $45 to $70 million just this opening weekend. And Danny McBride, one of the head writers of the movie, which, by the way, the comedy. There's a couple times where the comedy is just kind of like, like it's whatever. Especially there's like one scene about halfway through the movie where it's like, it's funny because of like the character that's there, but like, and then they crank up the intensity, which even like the lighting in this movie, by the way, the lighting in that scene in particular is just really well done with floodlights and stuff. It's great. But yeah, Danny McBride was asked in an interview, is there going to be a sequel? And the plan was originally to pitch two Halloween movies to be filmed back to back. So we finish this one and then we go right into the next one. But then they were like, okay, wait, let's hold off because if people don't like this movie, then there's no point in making a sequel. So with how well this movie is being received right now and how well it's probably going to do in the box office, there will be a sequel, guaranteed. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's a couple of theories already going around the internet of how they're going to do the sequel. I'll get into that again in the spoiler review, which will be in the description or in the iBar from before, or you can click it now. Overall, if I had to give this movie a rating with A+ being the best and an F being a fail, this is an easy B+, A-. Just like, again, like a couple little tiny gripes where I'm just like, oh, I didn't like that, or I didn't like this. I'm just, no movie is perfect, right? But yeah, if you're looking for a good intense movie for Halloween, or you just like a good intense movie, definitely go see this movie. But yeah, this has been the one and only Slack. Subscribe if you're new, like, share, whatever, leave a comment. The spoiler review will be in the description, and I will see you in the next video.